Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Emilia.
And I'm Brian. We're so glad you're here with us for our 8th episode.
Today, we have an exciting and very important topic to discuss: breaking language barriers. Whether you're learning English or any other language, facing and overcoming language barriers is a common challenge.
That's right, Emilia. Breaking language barriers can open up a world of opportunities, from making new friends and traveling to different countries to advancing your career and feeling more connected in a multicultural environment.
In this episode, we'll be sharing some personal experiences and effective strategies to help you overcome these barriers. We'll also dive into some real-life dialogues and explore key vocabulary words related to our discussion.
Plus, we've got a fun quiz at the end to test your knowledge based on what we've talked about. So, stay tuned and let's dive into how we can break down those language barriers together.
Let's get started. All right, Brian, let's dive into today's main topic: breaking language barriers. To start, let's talk about what language barriers are and why they can be so challenging.
Absolutely, Emilia. A language barrier is essentially a communication obstacle that occurs when people who speak different languages try to communicate with each other. This can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, and even feelings of isolation.
Yes, and we've both had our fair share of experiences with language barriers, haven't we? For me, moving to a country where English wasn't widely spoken was a real eye-opener. I had to find ways to communicate effectively despite the language differences.
Definitely. I remember when I first started working in an international company. Even though I spoke English, the diverse accents and dialects were initially challenging to understand. But it taught me a lot about patience and the importance of clear communication.
So, what are some effective strategies for breaking these language barriers? One of the most powerful methods is immersion and practice. Immersing yourself in the language through daily activities, media, and conversation helps you get used to the sounds, rhythms, and patterns of the language.
That's a great point. Another effective strategy is using language learning apps and resources. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Rosetta Stone offer structured lessons that can help build vocabulary and grammar skills. Plus, many of these apps have interactive features that make learning fun.
Language exchange programs are also fantastic. These programs pair you with a native speaker of the language you're learning. In exchange, you help them learn your native language. It's a win-win situation and a great way to practice speaking and listening in a real-world context.
And don't forget about practicing with native speakers whenever you get the chance. This could be through language meetups, online communities, or even traveling. The more you use the language in everyday situations, the more confident and fluent you'll become.
Absolutely. One thing that helped me a lot was watching movies and TV shows in the target language. It not only improved my listening skills, but also gave me a cultural context, which is crucial for understanding how the language is used in different situations.
Music is another great tool. Listening to songs and singing along can improve your pronunciation and help you learn new words and phrases in a fun way. Plus, it's a great way to get a feel for the rhythm and intonation of the language.
Breaking language barriers isn't just about speaking and understanding. It's also about building confidence. The more you practice and put yourself out there, the more confident you'll become in your language abilities.
And remember, making mistakes is part of the learning process. Don't be afraid to make them. Each mistake is a step towards improvement. Be patient with yourself and keep pushing forward.
In summary, breaking language barriers requires a combination of immersion, practice, using learning resources, engaging in language exchanges, and building confidence. It's a journey, but with the right strategies, it's definitely achievable.
Well said, Emilia. Overcoming language barriers can open up so many doors and enrich your life in countless ways. So don't be discouraged. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and enjoy the journey of language learning.
Great advice, Brian. Now, let's move on to some real-life dialogues to see how these strategies can be applied in everyday situations.
Hey Mark. I just moved to Spain for work, but I'm having a hard time with the language. Do you have any tips?
Hi Sarah. Yes, moving to a new country can be challenging. One thing that really helped me when I moved to Germany was immersion. Try to engage with Spanish as much as possible, watch Spanish TV shows, listen to local radio, and speak with locals.
That sounds helpful. I've been a bit shy about speaking because I'm worried about making mistakes.
Don't worry about mistakes. They're part of the learning process. Locals will appreciate your effort to speak their language, even if it's not perfect. Also, consider joining a language exchange program. It's a great way to practice with native speakers.
Thanks, Mark. I'll give that a try.
Hi, Emma. I noticed that during meetings, some of our colleagues have difficulty understanding each other. Any suggestions on how we can improve communication?
Hi, Carlos. Yes, it's a common issue in multicultural teams. One effective strategy is to speak slowly and clearly. Avoid using jargon or idiomatic expressions that might confuse non-native speakers.
Good point. I've also thought about organizing language workshops. Do you think that would help?
Absolutely. Language workshops can be very beneficial. Another idea is to encourage employees to use language learning apps to improve their skills. This can boost overall communication in the workplace.
Great ideas, Emma. I'll suggest them at our next meeting.
Hi, John. I'm new here and still learning English. Sometimes I feel it's hard to make friends. Do you have any advice?
Hi, Aiko. Making friends in a new language can be tough, but it's definitely possible. Start by joining clubs or groups that interest you. Shared interests make it easier to connect.
I've joined a local book club, but I'm worried my English isn't good enough.
That's a great start. Don't worry too much about your English. People are usually very understanding and patient. Plus, being in the club will give you lots of opportunities to practice.
Thanks, John. I'll keep at it.
Hey Anna. I'm heading to France next month, but I don't speak French. Any tips on how to get by?
Hi, Liam. Traveling to a country where you don't speak the language can be daunting, but it's manageable. Learn some basic phrases before you go. Things like greetings, asking for directions, and ordering food.
I've started learning a few basics. Any other tips?
Use translation apps on your phone. They can be a lifesaver. Also, don't hesitate to use gestures and body language to communicate. Most people are friendly and willing to help if they see you're trying.
Hi, David. I'm trying to improve my English, but I find it difficult to practice in everyday situations. What can I do?
Hi, Maria. One thing you can do is to create opportunities for practice. For example, when you go shopping, try to speak in English with the store staff. You can also practice by reading English labels and instructions.
I've been hesitant because I'm afraid people won't understand me.
Don't worry about that. Most people will appreciate your effort. Another idea is to set specific goals, like ordering food in English or asking for help at the library. These small interactions add up and build your confidence.
I'll start doing that. Thanks for the advice, David.
Those were some great examples of how to handle real-life situations where language barriers can occur. Now, let's move on to the vocabulary segment to reinforce what we've learned.
The first word is barrier. A barrier is something that prevents progress or makes it difficult for people to achieve something.
Example sentence. Language barriers can make it challenging for people to communicate effectively in a new country.
The next word is immersion. Immersion means being completely involved in an activity or interest, especially in a way that helps you learn something more effectively.
Example sentence. Immersion in the language by living in the country helped her become fluent in Spanish.
Now let's talk about fluency. Fluency is the ability to speak or write a language easily, smoothly, and accurately.
Example sentence. With regular practice, he achieved fluency in English within 2 years.
The fourth word is exchange. An exchange is the act of giving something and receiving something else in return, often used in the context of language learning.
Example sentence. She joined a language exchange program to improve her French and help others learn English.
Finally, we have communication. Communication is the process of sharing information, thoughts, or feelings with others.
Example sentence. Effective communication is essential for breaking down language barriers in the workplace.
These 5 words, barrier, immersion, fluency, exchange, and communication, are crucial when discussing how to break language barriers. Understanding and using these terms will help you navigate and overcome language challenges more effectively.
All right, it's quiz time. Let's see how well you've been paying attention. We'll ask 5 multiple-choice questions based on our discussion today. Ready? Here we go. What is one effective strategy to overcome language barriers? A. Avoid speaking the language. B. Immersion and practice. C. Only use translation apps. D. Ignore the language difference.
What does immersion mean in the context of language learning? A. Learning multiple languages at once. B. Fully engaging with the language in daily life. C. Speaking only in your native language. D. Attending language classes occasionally.
Why is breaking language barriers important in professional settings? A. To avoid working with others. B. To focus only on written communication. C. To remain isolated. D. To enhance communication and collaboration.
Which of the following is not a benefit of overcoming language barriers? A. Building relationships. B. Enhanced travel experiences. C. Increased misunderstandings. D. Improved career opportunities.
What is a language exchange program? A. A program where people learn each other's languages. B. A program where people exchange books. C. A program for translating documents. D. A program for learning new dialects. Great job, everyone. We hope these questions helped reinforce what we've discussed today. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode on breaking language barriers. We hope you found our discussion helpful and that you learned some valuable strategies to overcome language challenges.
Remember, breaking language barriers takes time, patience, and practice. Whether you're immersing yourself in the language, using learning apps, participating in language exchange programs, or practicing with native speakers, Every effort you make brings you closer to fluency.
And don't forget the importance of building confidence and not being afraid to make mistakes. Each mistake is a step toward improvement and better communication.
We also talked about some key vocabulary words today: barrier, immersion, fluency, exchange, and communication. These terms are essential for understanding and discussing language learning and overcoming barriers.
We hope you enjoyed the real-life dialogues and found the quiz fun and informative. These activities are designed to help reinforce what you've learned and give you practical examples of how to apply these strategies in everyday situations.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the English Learning Podcast. We appreciate your support and hope you'll continue to join us on this language learning journey. Until then, keep practicing, stay motivated, and don't be afraid to break those language barriers.
Thanks for listening. This is Emilia
and Brian,
signing off.